everyone, it's Carol here again with another Techniques on a Tuesday. I want to bring you something a little bit different today, and the best place for me to start is with my glue book. We often, when you're making glue books, go through a variety of magazines looking for images that we can use. So for instance, I've got these two beautiful ladies here out of a magazine, and in fact from an old embroidery magazine I got these floral images as well. And here's another sort of idea again with magazines. I went through, I found loads of images and glued them to my page and made, you know, a bit of a lovely art image with it. The same with this one. It had this beautiful image of the church, and I've cut it up into strips, but again it's using a magazine image. Okay, so we've got a variety of different magazines, and there's lots of videos out there of how you can use a product called Citrusolve on National Geographic magazines, especially the older ones, because the ink is slightly different when it was printed. Now Citrusolve is mega expensive here in the UK. It's like 20 odd pound for a small bottle, you know, sort of like this big. It's 20 odd pounds, and I'm not prepared to go out and go and spend that kind of money to distort some images in magazines. So I want to just show you a couple of things, the kind of things that we look for, before I go on to how I'm going to alter some of these pages. And I've marked some of them off already. So for instance, this image here, excluding the lady, you see all of this area here. This would make a lovely background for a tag, and we can add more to it, but this just becomes the background. The same as this one here. This would make a lovely background image for a tag, as would this part here. Some more examples. The colours here in this section are lovely, so you know, we could create all sorts with that. There's a beautiful tag there with a lovely ombre effect with the colours of the water in the background. The same with this one. Again, we've got some wonderful ombre effects in the background with the watercolours there as well, and so the list goes on and on. There's all sorts of little areas where when I can get to the page, there we go, where we can pick parts of magazines out already as backgrounds for us. So for instance, this would make an interesting background here on a tag, for instance. Here again in another magazine, the Yorkshire Life, I've earmarked this page, and again there's lots to utilise in here. So there's the title here, there's the flower to pick out here with the, is that a wasp or a bumblebee? I'm not sure. And then there's these beautiful faded out images here that could also be used. But once we've picked out all the best bits from the magazines, we're often left with a load of rubbish that we just don't know what to do with. And this is where the Citrusolve can come into play, because you can then go and affect the page, and it creates a lovely mottled effect because it distorts and all the ink that's already on the paper. But I've come up with a slightly different way of doing it, because as I say, I'm not prepared to go out and go and buy Citrusolve, and I had a little play with this stuff called Brasso, which you might still have in your cupboards. It's the sort of product that was used quite a lot back in them olden days, when we used to have brass hanging up on the walls, you know, the horseshoes and the horse carts and all of that. And Dad used to clean the brass every week, or, you know, whatever. But I actually went and purchased this on purpose, but it sort of works really well on these magazines. So I'm just going to get myself set up and then I'll show you what I mean. So what you're going to need is your Brasso, some baby wipes, some of this waxed paper, kitchen roll, and some images that you don't like, that you think, what the hell am I supposed to do with those, you know? So first one that I'm going to show you, let me just earmark that page because I want to come back to that one, is this. Isn't that just beautiful? Really lovely, vibrant, rich, deep colours. So I'm just going to rip that one out because this is the easiest one to show you for the effect that I want to create. And I'm just going to lay a couple of the wax paper underneath because the ink shifts. Am I better off? Oh yeah, I'm better off that way around, look. More coverage. Okay. I've also chosen a variety of different stencils, and in fact that feather one might work quite well on there because of it sort of being peacock colours. I've got a text one here, a text stencil, so that would help to also create an extra background. I've got this doily shape which I could have half on the image, and I've got a floral shape here as well, and again you can start to see what that would look like. So I think I'm going to use the feather, and in fact I might just do this section up here because it's got the peacock colours in. Do I want it that way around maybe? No, I'm going to have it that way around. And then I've still got enough of that image then left. Now you might want to use a pair of gloves because obviously it moves the ink about and you could get the ink on your fingers, plus the fact whatever is inside Brasso also gets on your fingers as well. Now it's a little bit like cotton wool, but it's not cotton wool. And you pull a piece out. You could tape your stencil in place if you so wish, and then you just start rubbing. And as you start to work, you'll see that the ink starts to shift and disappear. Now this is the sort of thing that you can do on a night whilst you're watching TV. Now the smell is quite strong, so you might want to have a little bit of ventilation as well. And it just removes the ink colour. And you're left with this. So I'm just going to dab it with a bit of kitchen roll because a new tin of Brasso is actually, it's quite juicy. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly wipe it over with a baby wipe, again to just take that excess off. And because the paper's quite shiny, see, look, taking the ink with it. And then I would need to put that off to one side to dry, but you can see the effect that it's created. So again, if you did it with a mask, you'd obviously then get the reverse of this, and you'd remove all of the background, and the colour that would be left would be the feather shape, but it creates a really nice background. which you can then use on all these pieces that you've picked out that are already a beautiful background for you to then go and decorate. All right, so you can take it then onto another level. But what if you get these horrible pictures that are left? So again, take the piece of Brasso, and you can keep reusing this for quite a while. You just pop it back in the tin. So if I rub all over this image, you can see that it's shifting the ink and actually rubbing out the picture, so that you end up with no images left behind at all, just shifted ink. Now you could just leave it like that to dry. I don't know whether it would dry permanently. I haven't got that far in my experimentation. But what I then did was I wiped it off. To be left with just the base colours of ink. And this is why you need something underneath, because you're moving that ink off. And it can go everywhere. But you now can't really see. You can see a little bit of outline, but you can see that it creates an interesting background in itself. So it means that all those horrible images that you'd got, you can also utilise, because this has now created an interesting background. And in fact, this was an image very much like that, and I scrubbed all the background off just the same as I did there, and then I went over the top with a letter stencil and ended up with this piece here. So the background is interesting to look at, but you would never know that it was one of these horrible pictures. So that's my experiment for today, and I hope that you'll go off and go and try it. Maybe even buy yourself a tin of Brasso, much cheaper than Citrusolve. And you might need to experiment on some of your magazines to see if it will work. And what I would suggest is, maybe not that one, hang on, maybe the likes of these types of magazines. In the back is where you get all the adverts, so you could just try it on a little bit of an advert and see if it shifts the ink, and if it does, it's more than likely that it will shift the ink on the rest of the magazine as well. I've made a picture tutorial showing how I decorated these two pieces, and following that there are some close-up images of these pieces that I created as well. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've been inspired to give this technique a go, and I'll see you all in another video really soon. Thanks for joining me, and please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new to my channel. Thanks a lot. Bye everyone.